What's up guys, thanks for joining the channel. In this video I'm comparing the Google Pixel 5a 5G with the Google Pixel 4a. We have the newer phone versus the predecessor. Let's go ahead and get started. So the new Pixel 5a 5G comes in with a price tag of $450 versus the Pixel 4a, which had a price tag of $350. So only a difference of $100, but you're getting a lot more stuff and a lot more improvements in the Pixel 5a 5G. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the most obvious change is going to be the addition of 5G, and that is the first time in the A line, which is the more affordable budget mid-range type line for the Pixels. And that's a great sign because if you're in a 5G coverage area, you're obviously going to get great speeds, so you might as well take advantage of that. And for only $100 difference, that's awesome. They only charge a little bit more, but you're getting way more stuff when it comes to 5G, and it's going to be future proof. It's going to be better in the future when you have more 5G coverage everywhere. Now the 4a still does a good job with LTE and all that stuff, but you know, if you have 5G, why not take advantage of it? So that's a big improvement right there. Let's go ahead and talk about the size real quick. Overall, the Pixel 5a is going to be bigger. It weighs in at 6.4 ounces versus the 5 ounces on the Pixel 4a. So both of these devices are lightweight, but the Pixel 4a is really lightweight compared to the new 5a. For the build quality, there is a step up in the Pixel 5a 5G. So you got that aluminum frame, aluminum back, so that metal feeling. The 4a was all plastic, but if you're like me, it's not such a big improvement, just because for practical reasons I just slap a cheap TPU $5 case on it and a screen protector to protect it from dings and cracks and all that stuff. It's just, I just like to keep my stuff protected, nothing too crazy, and so that pretty much gives it a tie for the build quality. One thing that both of these do share in common is they both have an eSIM, so you get two different services, two different data plans, two different carriers at the same time. And also, if you're traveling, you don't have to have a physical SIM card to activate service. That is not found on a lot of different devices. It's only the Pixels, the iPhones, and higher end Samsungs. So that sets it apart on both of these phones. One difference is the 5a has the IP67 dust and water resistance up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. The Pixel 4a did not have that. To me, it's not such a big deal. I don't really notice it because I don't really use my devices around water or showers or sinks or anything like that, really. But if you do have kids or if you're outdoors a lot, it might be something that will really help you out. But that's a feature that's typically reserved for more expensive devices. So for $450, it's not a bad deal. Next is the screen size, and you do see a big difference there. Pixel 5a steps it up to 6.3 inches versus the 5.8 inch on the 4a, so you're getting a way overall bigger screen. You might like it, you might not. You might like it, you might not, but phones are just getting bigger, let's just face it. Both of these screens are 60 hertz, so no improvement in the refresh rate. To me, it's not a big deal. 60 hertz is just fine, I could live with that. Resolution stayed pretty much the same. You got 1080p screens on both of these, so they have a PPI of more than 400, and that's pretty good in my book. These are the same type of displays used in more expensive devices, so that's good in both of these phones. So it's kind of a tie right there. And they both have always on display, which is pretty awesome. If you could just interact with your phone sitting on the table, so you can see the messages and incoming notifications without really having to pick it up. So that's pretty good right there as well. Both of these have the ability to update to the newest version of Android, clean cut. These phones will feel almost the same, running the exact same software. You got Android 11 launching on the 5a. The Pixel 4a launched with Android 10, upgraded to Android 11, and soon we'll get Android 12. But you're not going to feel any real differences. They're both going to run the exact same on both of these devices. As for the chipset, you got a little bit of a bump up in the 5a. You got 765G versus the Snapdragon 730G on the 4a. Honestly, you're not going to find a lot of differences. Most apps and everyday gaming and everyday apps such as, let's take a look here. You got YouTube, you got WhatsApp, you got email, you got maps, you got hotspotting, Bluetooth, all that good stuff. Light gaming like Dead Trigger and Grand Theft Auto will work perfectly fine on both of these processors. Not a problem. Now, when it comes to the storage, they both are the same, 128 gigs, so no problem in the storage department. We stream everything, but it's going to be a little bit better on the 5A because you will have absolutely no need for keeping stuff on your phone for the most part. Both of these do not have a micro SD card slot, so 128 gigs I think will be more than enough for most people. Both of these phones still have only 6 gigs of RAM, but that's not a problem with the amount of apps that regular people use. You shouldn't have a problem. That's more than enough. If you do find yourself needing tons of apps of open in the background, you know, maybe get an 8 gigabyte amount of RAM for your next phone, but I think these will serve most people just right. And at these prices, $450 or $350, it's not too much of a bad deal on either of these. It's the same amount of storage as in flagships, and with the RAM, it's only 2 gigabytes more, so it's not a big deal. Now, the camera department. Pixels have always had good cameras, and these are pretty much going to be the same, except that the Pixel 5a has an extra 16 megapixel ultra wide camera in addition to the 12 megapixel that's found on the Pixel 4a. Both shoot at 4K, and that's something that Pixels always do. They both take really great pictures, but now you have that ultra wide on the back to take in more options when taking video and pictures. And these, let me tell you, these cameras on these phones are flagship level, but you're getting them at $450 and $350 respectively. These are awesome pictures and camera phones, and you won't be disappointed with either of these. But obviously the Pixel 4a will get you better shots with that ultra wide. And for the selfie camera, you got the same 8 megapixel 1080p camera in the front, and it's still a pretty good camera to take selfies and videos with. A bonus on both of these is you're still getting the headphone jack, so some people will appreciate that. Me, I moved on. I'm wireless. I don't need a headphone jack anymore. And, you know, if you still want to plug it into your car to listen to music or headphones or something like that, then, you know, do your thing. Both of these phones have Bluetooth 5.0. There's no change there. That means that, you know, they'll perfectly work with your wireless speakers, your wireless headphones, and your smartwatches. Both phones have NFC, so that's mostly just for payment services like Google Pay and stuff. Both have the USB Type-C port for charging, pretty standard stuff. And they both keep the fingerprint reader in the back. It's kind of old school, but it's very reliable. I like that more than the in-display fingerprint reader, but hey, that's a feature that usually is reserved for more expensive phones. And both of these are $450 and $350 respectively. And last but not least is the battery, and this is probably the most improved area of the phone besides 5G. And you're getting a big battery. Finally, Pixels have always had terrible battery life, and finally they get to join the big boys and have 2 days worth of battery life. Most important feature in a phone, because if your phone doesn't have power, you can't use it. Doesn't matter what features it has. Okay, so the 5A has 4,680 milliamp battery, so close to 5,000 milliamps, as opposed to the 4A, which had a 3,140 milliamp battery. So we're talking about a 4.5 1,000 milliamp battery versus a 3,000 milliamp battery. You're going to see a big difference, especially with the fine-tuned software. It's going to give you 2 days. So finally, that's one big difference to get the 5A over the 4A, besides 5G. Both of these still have fast charging at 18 watts. Not the fastest, but it's still there. The beauty is that both of these still have the charging brick in the box, as opposed to more expensive flagships, which have totally ditched that. Not a big deal. A lot of people could find a fast charger on Amazon for like less than $10, so not a big deal there. But if you're gonna give it to somebody and it's a gift or something, it's even better. So what are my thoughts and opinions after going through all the specs? So I just educated you on pretty much everything that you need to know about these phones. If you've noticed, there's not a lot of big differences between these, except that the Pixel 5a has 5G. It has the bigger battery for 2 days of battery life, very important. It has that extra ultra wide camera. It has a little bit of extra, more power in the processor. But other than that, these phones are going to be very much the same. Price point, the 5A is only $100 more than the Pixel 4a. I say that the Pixel 5a 5G is the best Android phone you could get. Let alone the Pixel is the best Android phone you could get. It's a flagship level phone. It doesn't have a lot of compromises. It pretty much doesn't have any compromise when compared to high-end flagships like a Samsung or the previous Pixel 5. The battery is the one big difference that makes this phone like really powerful now. The Pixel 5a is still actually a good phone if you don't really require 5G, but the battery still keeps it, it just keeps it from being such a good phone. Especially if you find it used, you're not going to get good battery life out of this phone. And once you get used to fast charging and having a big battery together, it's hard to go back. But at $450, it's a no-brainer. And if these phones come out every year. If you got the 4A, you should still be fine. But if you happen to be in a 5G area, man, step it up and get the 5G Pixel 5a. It makes a big difference, especially in the future. These phones are going to get updates, and 5G is just going to be more and more prevalent. But in my opinion, yes, the Pixel 5a made huge improvements in the battery and with 5G. Everything else was good on the 4A, and they didn't need to change it. And if you're really into cameras and stuff like that, the Pixel always has a flagship level camera for a smaller price. And this is the best Android phone you could get for $450. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.